Hi guys, and regarding the mayoral elections for London next year, which of course will have a big impact on the situation regarding ULEZ. As you know, the ULEZ expansion did go ahead on the 29th of August, and for those people that are still concerned about ULEZ, such as myself, we never wanted it to expand, the solution was obviously to look towards the mayoral elections, which are happening on the 2nd of May next year, and hope that a candidate gets elected, one of those candidates, in fact, that has promised to either roll back ULEZ or get rid of ULEZ altogether. Now, the situation is that I've been looking at this YouGov poll here, and this was done in between the 9th and 14th of August 2023. So it's a fairly recent thing, and I'm afraid it doesn't make for encouraging reading, and I'll explain why right after this. A brown card guy. Okay, so let's look at this YouGov survey. Like I said, this says, according to this, and again, it's a bit complicated, and I've made notes and everything like that, and you know, I'm not great with numbers and tables. I'm not one of them. I'm a word guy. I'm not a numbers guy, but I've tried to make as much sense of it as I can. I will put the link below so you can have a look at it yourself, and if you think I made a mistake, then by all means, I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments, but this is my understanding of it. So first of all, it appears like this was done on between the 9th and 14th of August, and they say that the sample size was 1,000 adults. Now, I got to keep in mind it's just 1,000 adults. Now, to be fair, I could put a poll on my YouTube channel, on this channel right now, and I could get over 3,000 people to respond. I have had easily that much and more on my channel on polls, and I'm sure that I would get very different results to what they're showing here. But anyway, YouGov are the professional pollster organization, so let's see what they have to say. And of course, they're supposed to be careful in how they select this. So let's look at how they've selected it. Now, I have to be honest here, I'm just looking at the data, and you can look at the data yourself. It says that the majority of the age bracket is the 25 to 49 age range, so relatively youngish, just below middle age. It's pretty much over 50% of the people they polled fit into that category. For 50 plus, 50 to 64, I would say it's about 24%, so it's about a quarter. So that's, you know, that's interesting, but majority young, I would say, because also the young, then 11 to 24, so you combine the 50 with 11 to 24, 11 to 24, I would say is about 11% is what it looks like to me. So we're talking about over 60% actually is under 50 in this survey. The other thing to keep in mind is the social grade. What social grade is like, you know, how well off are they? You know, what sort of social class are they? And again, from what it appears to me is that it's 66% ABC1. ABC1 is obviously the top category, so they're, you know, well off. They're, you know, they're doing well for themselves, and good for them. 66%. Then I looked at what part of London, so this obviously was a London-based survey, but what part of London did it look at? Well, it looks like it looked at 40% inner London and 60% outer London. So quite a lot of this was actually outer London. So 60% of this was actually outer London. So keep that in mind. That's a very important thing. So they were the ones they surveyed, when they said would vote in the referendum, it was 48% remain, and about 24% leave. So then they asked them mayoral voting intentions. So who do you intend to vote for? And this is where I'm afraid it's not great news, because 33% say Labour candidate. That's 33%. The Conservative candidate, which as we know is Susan Hall, is 17.5%. 33% for Labour candidate, which Sadiq claims is still going to be him. I personally still doubt if it's going to be him, but if he's getting figures as high as that, then maybe it is going to be him. 33% for him, 17.5% for Susan Hall, basically. Green candidate, 6%, Liberal Democrats, 6%, and then it just says other, which is 4%. So that's all the category they've got. That's not good news, let's be honest, and I feel like it's something that maybe we haven't done enough work in this area to get awareness out there. And I think that that is very important. Now, one thing I want to touch on, and this is something that not only reflects in this survey, but something that comments I see time and time and time again, even though I've made a couple of videos trying to explain that the whole ULEZ situation is not about race, religion, culture, or anything to do with that. It's about politics, it's about ego, it's about corruption. That's all it is. It's nothing to do with race or religion. And yet time and time and time again, I have, you see attacks, and at the end of the day, I have nothing personally against Sadiq Khan. At the end of the day, I don't know the guy. I'll be honest with you. And at the same time, I'll also be honest with you. When he first got elected I wasn't even in the country. I was in the UAE. Don't get me wrong, I'm born and bred Londoner, so I spent half my career in the Middle East, half the career here in London. I consider London to be my hometown. I wasn't even here, I hadn't heard of this guy, came out of nowhere, suddenly saw this news that Sadiq Khan had become the mayor of London, British born of Pakistani heritage, and I was like, bro, yeah, whoa, bro, become mayor? Kya baat hai? Wow. I got to be honest, I was excited. I was like, wow, how has this even happened in my lifetime, And there's a context to that, which some of you will understand and some of you won't understand. But just for something like that to happen, that was quite a thing. And something like that to happen through a voting system. And I'm sure that you'll get what I'm hinting at there. But then you have a lot of people that are coming onto my channel, for example, and going, oh yes, because London's full of Muslims. London's full of Asian people. London's full of immigrants. This is what... Look, can we just be clear about one thing? London, there is about 1 million Muslims. That's a fact. It's coming up to about 1 million Muslims, right? But there's 9 million Londoners. So do the maths. It's not possible that 1 million people can overrule 8 million people and put in a candidate just because they think that should be the one. And also, let me just address that as well. And I won't say once and for all, because I seem to keep having to do this over and over again. And I've even done it in person as well as in videos. There is no requirement on me as a Muslim to vote for another Muslim. There is no such thing. This doesn't get discussed in mosques. No imams are out there canvassing for Sadiq Khan. Nobody says that, as Muslims, you must all vote for the Muslim candidate. It does not happen. At the end of the day, you vote for the person that you think is right. As a Londoner, that's how it works, right? It's not incumbent upon me to vote for Sadiq Khan, okay? And, whatever I might have thought of him before, the reality is that I don't agree with his ULEZ policy. And there's no way that I can see eye to eye with him on that. So, and that means, that's how voting works. That's how democracy works, And all those people say, oh, well, why you voted him in when you knew he was going to do that? And I'll remind you again, and it's not for the last time and not for the first time, that even 2 months after he was re-elected on his website, he says he had no intention of expanding the ULEZ zone further than the North and South circulars. Politicians lie. So that's the thing. And again, going back to the whole concept of, Sadiq Khan got voted in because, London is full of Asians, or it's full of foreigners, or it's full of immigrants, or it's full of Muslims. Well, going back to this, like I said, according to this YouGov survey, 33% said they will vote for the Labour candidate. Of the people surveyed, 70%, they got ethnicity here, 70% of them white. 70% of them are white. So, how can you, that argument just falls apart? It's like 70% of them are white. 33% of the total said that they will vote for Labour. And by Labour, they mean the Labour candidate, which are currently, as we know, because Sadiq Khan has said himself, that it's going to be him. Whether or not you agree with me that I think there's some doubt about that, but officially, it's going to be him. And 70% of white ethnic people, 70% of white indigenous people, if you like, in this survey have participated in this survey, and 33% of the total have said, we will vote for Sadiq Khan. They did ask a top-line question about, do you support ULEZ? And 50% said they do. I've given you the demographics. I broke that down so you can have a think about that yourself. And keep in mind that 60% of these are outer Londoners. And yet 60% of the total are outer Londoners. And yet 50% of the total said that they do support ULEZ. Does that mean that 50% oppose? No, because that figure was only 40%. So I'm guessing 10% were unknown or abstained or whatever. So this is not good news. In fact, when you look at, so I'll just read this out. Which, if any, of the following are the most important issues to you in deciding how you will vote at the next mayoral election? and you were allowed to select up to 3. And in the listing, number 1 was cost of living, which makes sense. Number 2 was crime and policing, which makes sense. Number 3 was housing, and we know that number 2 and number 3, both of these issues are serious issues for the mayor. And again, so we don't know why the 33% will vote for him when you have the fact that 2 of these top 3 issues are issues that he's failed in. Number 4 is health, that's more a government issue. And then only at number 5 do we get to transport. Only at number 5, and that's about 26%. So it's about a quarter, but it's at number 5. So that's not great. Going on, I'm going to read the next question out again. In London, the ultra-low emission zone is an area in which a fee is charged to the most polluting vehicles driving into the center of the city. To what extent do you support or oppose the expansion of the ULEZ area to cover all of the London areas? So the first question that we referred to when it came to ULEZ was, do you support ULEZ? So that's a sort of generic thing. Do you support ULEZ? And to be honest with you, if somebody said to me, do you support ULEZ in central London? I would say yes. I would, and I've said that before on record. You know, I've got nothing against ULEZ in central London. This question is specifically about the expansion. So where do we stand with the expansion? Well, sadly, 47% said that they support the expansion. 47% said they support the expansion. Only 42% opposed it. So 47% supported it, 42% opposed it. When you break it down into the demographics, it is slightly different. So when you look at just conservative supporters, 66% they opposed it. Conservative supporters, 66% said they opposed it. When you look at Labour, only 29% opposed it, and I guess that kind of makes sense. When you break it down to age, you get 55% of the 50s to 45-year-olds are against it. 64% of the 65 plus are against it. But when you get to that majority demographic, as I said earlier, that the majority of people that were surveyed in these 1,000 people were aged between 25 and 49. That was 50%. Well, they're only 11%. Only 33% of them, only a third, would oppose that. I mean, that's still fair, but it's only a third. And again, here's the thing that's really quite surprising. When you look at the outer London area, and so like I said, when you look at the overall figure, 60% of the overall people surveyed in this, of the 1,000 people, 60% were from outer London. So when you look at how many of the outer Londoners said that they oppose it, that's also, well, actually, to be honest, it's 51%. So it's only about half. So again, I wonder if, there's not been enough done in making people aware of how this impacts them, their relatives, their services, their cars, and everything. And this is true, to be honest, I still feel that, people here, I still see cars driving around. I don't know if they paid ULEZ or not. I still see lots of non-ULEZ compliant cars driving around. And I'm not sure if people are aware of exactly what's happened, but I'm guessing we'll find out. And by the way, we're coming up to a week. Tomorrow will be 1 week of the expanded zone. And do tell me in the comments how ULEZ has impacted you in these first 7 days, how the expansion has impacted you. Tell me in the comments. In terms of the ethnicity, who oppose it, and again, for those people that think, oh, well, Asians don't oppose this, or Asians don't come out to rally because they're too busy running their businesses or shops or whatever, bit of a stereotype there, but, could well be true. But I've always said that everybody that I speak to is opposed to ULEZ. I go to car events, just walking down the high street, just talking to people. People come up to me, they want to talk about ULEZ, they're all very concerned about it, and it's from all races, all cultures, everybody. And again, that's reflected in this, because if you look at the breakdown between how many white people and how many minority ethnic people are opposed to the expansion, it's exactly the same number, 42% for both of them. So it's people are equally disturbed and fed up of this. In recent weeks, the damage that has been caused to ULEZ cameras in protests of the expansion. Before taking the survey, how much, if anything, have you heard about this? So this is very interesting. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier about the awareness factors. What are the awareness factors? Maybe we just haven't done, despite everything that I've done, despite now finally media was too little too late, finally media has started giving some attention to the ULEZ issues, but despite all of that, the awareness still doesn't appear to be out there, because The total number of people that said not very much at all was 58%. So nearly 60% said they weren't really aware of it. Maybe we just haven't done enough. Maybe we just haven't done enough. So finally, I'm just going to look at this question here. Let's skip over that one. There's another question here that says, thinking about the ULEZ expansion and the level of support available to those with non-compliant ULEZ vehicles, which of the following statements best reflects your view? So I'm just going to look at the first. Well, I'll read the statements out. The Mayor of London is doing everything he reasonably can. That's the first one. The Mayor of London should be doing more. It's the second one. And the final one was don't know. I'm not going to give you all the stats, but I'll just give you the stats for the first question. So in the first question, in that majority age bracket of 25 to 49, 30% said that yes, the Mayor of London is doing everything he reasonably can. And that's the highest percentage. Out of those age ranges, that was the highest number. And out of the social class, ABC1 or C2DE, you had 28% said yes, he's doing everything he can. And that was ABC1, of course. So again, they can obviously afford to own ULEZ cars, so it's not altogether surprising. And again, the difference between inner London and outer London was also not surprising. 32% said yes, he's doing everything he can. Only 22% didn't say that. So I'm really sorry, 1 week on, and we are into the ULEZ expansion, and really a lot of us had pinned our hopes on the fact that maybe this could be resolved in the next mayoral election, which could be something of a referendum on the ULEZ expansion. And at the moment, if those numbers are to be believed, then it would appear not. Maybe because there just hasn't been enough awareness created out there as to what ULEZ is, what the expansion means, and what it's actually going to do to a lot of people. And like I said, please do share your stories on how ULEZ has impacted you over the first week of its expansion in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. But also keep in mind that this is 1,000 people only. Don't forget, there's 9 million people in London. So I suppose we shouldn't be too disheartened. It's just a fraction, a tiny fraction of those people. But I'd love to hear what you think about this survey. And I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Brown car guy. Hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please hit the like button and share this video as well if you can. And while you're at it, check out these guys who also sponsor my content. I am deeply grateful to them because it helps me to buy new equipment, put fuel in the cars, and yes, buy a cup of coffee. You can do the same. Just go here or right here on YouTube. Just hit these 3 little dots down here and click on thanks. Make sure you're signed in first. My content is free, but this is how you can help me keep it that way. I may even send you a gift. Oh, by the way, watch this next.